Hello and welcome to Tuesday Newsday, your #1 resource for the entire week's worth of VR news. HTC makes one of its biggest moves recently by almost completely pulling out of the consumer VR industry. Hitman 1, 2, and 3 are coming to VR, and teachers use Half-Life Alyx of all things to teach their students remotely. All that and so much more. But first, finally, I saved up all this money to buy a Valve Index. All I have to do is insert my info and... what? Denied? Don't be like this guy. VR can be an expensive endeavor, let's be real. Protect your money with Ridge Wallet, this video sponsor. Ridge Wallet saves your money from digital pickpocketers with built-in RFID blocking technology. Comes in over 30 colors and holds 12 cards plus cash. It's a techie wallet for tech enthusiasts, and you can use code THRILL at checkout for 10% off your order. So what are you waiting for? Make the switch to Ridge. Links in the description and pinned comment. But now it's time to get right into the news. So if you've been waiting in line for a Valve Index or you've been slowly saving up in order to get one, I have some really good news for you. It seems that Valve's manufacturing process is slowly catching up to the demand. I know I've had many people close to me report that their orders on Valve Indexes have recently gone from the notify me when available to a purchasable state. And this is backed up by information put together by Road to VR. In all countries besides Italy, the controllers are now available within 3 to 5 weeks, and headsets within 5 to 7 weeks, besides North America. And while worldwide the full kit is still going for an 8+ week lead up time, I have personally seen that number vary between 10 to 13 weeks and 5 to 8 weeks, just depending on how fast the stock is replenished. So while we're not exactly at a point where Valve Indexes can just be ordered like normal with stock ready to be shipped to any buyer, this is definitely better than the 16-week wait times that we were seeing just a month or two back. And we're on a good track towards the Index being widely available. This brings us on to our main topic today. HTC is quitting out on consumer VR, it seems. But there's more to it, so let me explain. We all know the absolute colossal failure that is the HTC Vive Cosmos, and ever since the Cosmos launch, we have watched HTC's market share on Steam VR decrease month over month, losing a massive portion to both Valve and Oculus. There was a time when HTC held almost 50% of the VR market regarding PC VR, and now that number has fallen to less than 30% and is falling fast. Now, there's a big reason for this, and it's not just because the Cosmos failed. The reason why HTC had such a huge market share in the first place is largely because of the original HTC Vive. Compared to most options today, other than Oculus that is, the HTC Vive was a pretty cheap PC VR headset. Towards the end of its life, you could buy a Vive at freaking Best Buy for Pete's sake, and for just over $400. And that price stayed at around $400 for a while, providing two things: a relatively cheap buy-in price for a decent yet slightly outdated headset, but also easy accessibility. You could literally drive to the store and pick up a headset other than an Oculus headset if you wanted to. Then the Cosmos launched for a much higher price than the Vive to abysmal reviews at a terrible time months after the Valve Index and Rift S and Quest launched. And in case you are a Cosmos owner and you're about to comment on how great your Cosmos works, I don't doubt you. Your Cosmos probably works fine for what you do, but let me show you this independent study showing the tracking precision among the most popular headsets. The bigger number is worse here, measured in millimeter tracking precision from actual device location to the tracked location. Here you see the Valve Index, Oculus Rift S, Quest, and WMR, and they all have sub-millimeter tracking precision. And this is the Cosmos. Mind you, this device launched for and still cost $700. Then, of course, the Cosmos Elite launched, which fixed every tracking problem the headset had, but worsened the price, costing an outrageous $900. For a headset with subpar controllers and a worse viewing experience than its competitor in that price range. And all of this led to the Cosmos having one of the worst adoption rates on Steam out of any headset on the market, making up less than 1% of the entire user base of Steam VR users. Compare that to the Rift S or Index, holding 21% and 14.5% of market share respectively. And you can see that the Cosmos was a flop. But the bigger mistake was not so much the Cosmos itself, but what HTC did to its lineup of headsets during the Cosmos Big Bang. The massively popular, easily accessible, cheaply obtained PC VR headset of choice, the HTC Vive, was discontinued. For what reason, I don't know. Well, actually, I probably do. It's likely to stop the Vive from eating away at Cosmos sales. But the cheaper and better headsets from other companies already did that. So the remnants of the Cosmos is an HTC that isn't selling headsets. The Vive isn't sold by choice, and the Cosmos isn't bought by choice. So that brings us back to the main topic. How is HTC leaving the consumer market? Well, let me back up to the sort of restructuring plan that HTC made up just a few months ago. HTC decided to fully commit with the Cosmos. Instead of backing off on the idea, they instead doubled down, releasing the Cosmos Elite with laser tracking like we all know, maintaining the Cosmos as is, and releasing 2 more Cosmos headsets called the XR and the Play. The XR was meant specifically for mixed reality content using pass-through cameras and wasn't necessarily meant for consumers anyways. However, the other Cosmos, the HTC Vive Cosmos Play, was HTC's chance to hit a cheaper market. $400 seems to be the standard pricing for a VR headset given the Rift S and Quest, and any headset more expensive than that either has to be massively better or it's really hard to compete. So the Play was a headset to compete at that price point, since apparently the Cosmos couldn't be sold for that cheap, and well, the original Vive was discontinued. So the Play was sort of HTC's last play at the cheaper range of headsets. Well, unfortunately, the HTC Vive Cosmos Play is being pulled. It will not be sold to consumers as it was originally planned. And instead, the entire company has said it's shifting its focus to enterprise. Quote, "The product will now be targeted to businesses and institutions looking to use VR as a viewer, technology showpiece, or a VR conference solution," end quote. And what this says to me is HTC could not get tracking good enough or consistent enough with the Cosmos Play for consumer use. I mean, if this is the best precision HTC could get with 6 cameras on the Cosmos, is it really realistic to expect anything better out of a device sold for cheaper with even less cameras? So the headset that I was holding out for to maybe save HTC, and a lot of other industry people hoping HTC wouldn't be nailing its own coffin, is now no longer even being sold on its website to consumers at all. As far as you or I are concerned, consumers, it's essentially a canned project. And HTC's story is honestly a sad one. VR is far too young and fragile of an industry to be hooting and hollering that a company you don't personally like is failing and now paying for its mistakes and ignorance. And I may be stretching here by saying HTC is actually completely done with the consumer market. Upload VR asked here recently in an editorial if HTC should just quit consumer. But I'm saying here that they already have. The Cosmos and Cosmos Elite will continue to be sold on their website to consumers, but with the terrible reputation, high price, and current competitors, not to mention the already raved about HP Reverb G2 that does everything the Cosmos should have done, for cheaper as well. There is no happy ending for an HTC that sticks with the Cosmos, at least not in the consumer segment. And I wish this video could be all about hyping this new prototype that HTC just revealed called the Proton, a phone-tethered headset that hopes to bring 5G streamed VR media to anyone with service. But HTC themselves says that it's nothing more than a concept. So, for now, in the short term, this is a sore goodbye to HTC's presence in the consumer market. In the long term, however, I hope this is a time for HTC to restructure itself and eventually come back to the consumer market with something that aligns closer to what consumers actually want. Until then, HTC's consumer market share will continue to dry up as we all move on to greener pastures and better headsets. But now, it's time for a meme break! VR games and VR physics can a lot of times get pretty close to real-life physics. Games like Boneworks and Blade & Sorcery do a pretty good job of not breaking immersion by going too far from the 9.8 meters per second that we all know from real life. However, when things break, the immersion of VR makes it twice as funny. This is what pulling an arrow out of yourself looks like, but in VR. And now, back to the news. In the most recent State of Play from Sony, a huge surprise was contained in the mini press release. Hitman 3, the newest game in the Hitman trilogy, is coming to VR, in addition to Hitman 1 and 2. So now, the entire trilogy will eventually be playable in virtual reality. That is, if you own a PlayStation VR, of course. Now, I know a large part of my audience really doesn't care much for PSVR or console VR for that matter, but I'm sure that you, just like me, were pretty disappointed during the PlayStation 5 reveal that VR wasn't even mentioned by Sony. Because as much as I know PC VR enthusiasts hate to acknowledge the fact that PlayStation VR has more users than PC, PlayStation VR has more users than PC, by a lot. More than 5 million PlayStation VR units have been sold to date, and software sales are kinda crazy for the whole platform. So I expected at least some mentioning of VR from Sony during the PS5 event, but we got nothing. We did, however, get a Hitman 3 reveal, and now we know that Hitman 3, like I said, is going to have VR support. I am plenty excited, as I think that Hitman is a perfect franchise for VR once it's first person, of course. And this trailer showing off the VR functionality I think clearly demonstrates how well it could work. Of course, I wish I could play this on an Index with my 2080 Ti, but that won't happen, at least not for a while. I am happy, however, to see a beloved franchise receiving VR support. So imagine going to class and your teacher gives the lesson in Half-Life Alyx. Well, that's exactly what happened in a high school in Poland, Szkoła 33. The video shows the school mostly abandoned due to current events like, the pandemic, then cuts to the instructor providing the lesson to her students using the dry erase markers while in Half-Life Alyx. Now, I'm a big believer in the future of online schooling taking advantage of virtual reality, but I never thought that Half-Life Alyx itself would be used as the medium for that. But hey, I can't complain. From the instructor, quote, "We decided to use VR in lessons because it seemed like a good opportunity to try something new and to engage our students in online classes," end quote. And I have to agree, I would love to take a course if it took place in virtual reality, and I would probably get better marks as well. While this particular case was more of a fun experiment to gauge interest and get the students excited about online courses, Szkoła 33 does plan on implementing more VR into their studies in the future. And even when the actual real-life classes continue, VR is planned to be a mainstay in the lesson plan. I think as time goes on, we will continue to see VR being implemented in schools from the lowest to the highest level. But now it's time for question of the week from Nani Moon. Have I ever wanted to quit VR, and why? Yes, I have. In fact, I have put VR down for multiple months before. While that hasn't happened since I started this channel, of course, since I'm constantly trying out new games or hardware or updates so I can make videos for everyone. But back in 2017, there were times when no new games came out, or the games we had were just very limited. So I would get back into VR or VR chat for a few months and go crazy with it, and then I wouldn't touch it for a while. Then something would spark my interest again and I'd be back in VR for a few months. Have I ever had a moment where I legit wanted to quit VR and never look back though? Absolutely not. Even back during the original DK1 and DK2 days, I've always seen VR for what it could be, not for what it currently is. And I still maintain that. I do want to say though, now in 2020, we have so many games to play that you could really just play VR games and be pretty set. People new to VR now have so many more options for games and software than we had a few years ago, and it just makes me happy to see that. But me now, well, in the past year, I've maybe had 3 or 4 days max where I haven't been in VR. It's part of my daily life, and I couldn't be happier about it. Make sure to leave your own question of the week below. I may just answer yours next. Also, come check out my second channel. I posted my second gameplay video. So far, we have a Five Nights at Freddy's video, and the newest is a Vertigo Remaster funny vid. Come on over and give some love. Also, I will be streaming today on Twitch pretty much right after this video goes live, so come on over and say hey so we can continue this conversation. Also, join up in my Discord for one of the best VR communities on the planet. I want to thank all of my Patreon supporters, especially my Omegas like Very Evil Shadow, Benji, Fusion Oak, HCG Randon, Kettle, Zimp, Ronzarelli, Studio Form VR, Token Engineer, Tristan Sloan, True Killa, VR Ambassador, and VR Balance. I literally couldn't be doing any of this without you. Don't forget to like this video if you loved it, subscribe if you want more of this, and hit that freaking bell if you just can't live without it. Much love, Thrill out.